Good afternoon, everybody. Happy Derby Week, and welcome to this week's Team Kentucky Update. I'm Andy, and we have hopefully a short one for you today, but with some good news. I want to kick off today's economic development news by highlighting the trip to Germany and Switzerland that we as a team just returned from. During our trip, we had the opportunity to have conversations with leaders from over 100 different companies. Germany is one of the largest European investors in Kentucky with over 90 companies operating in our state. Of the companies we visited, 10 have their North American headquarters right here in Kentucky. This trip allowed us to speak directly with the decision makers considering new investments in our state. We had the chance to talk with several prospects as well that are looking for a home in the United States. I want to highlight just a few of our stops. We had a great time visiting the leaders of Mubia at their headquarters in Germany. This, I think, is the only German company that has ever had a father and a son, both as governor, visit their German headquarters. It was a valuable opportunity to show that there is no better place to do business in than right here in the Commonwealth. They had the family representative, who in that picture is to my right, if you're looking at it, to your left. Their North American head, which is on the other side of me. Now, certainly two, if you're looking at it to the left, that's Travis, who heads our Kentucky facility, who was over there for training and that just happened to be there. He lives in Grant County, but it was neat to see another Kentuckian as we walked in. A lot of employees in the Commonwealth. This was a very good visit. We also made a stop at Freudenberg Filtration Technologies to learn more about their innovative solutions that pay good paying jobs in Hopkinsville. Let's see if we have that one. Yeah, so we got really a firsthand look at all the different types of filtration systems that they have. This is a big company that does a lot of different things. This is their group that does the Hopkinsville facility. We also visited Hinkle, which is an enormous company. It's got about 50,000 employees worldwide, but they employ 800 Kentuckians in Bowling Green, where they make Dial soap and Snuggle fabric softener, among other things. That one will come up in a minute. We were honored to not just get a tour of some of the newest technology and what they're doing in the EV space, but also to really learn about the significant R&D that goes into how they do their products. And this is their international CEO, who really spent a lot of time with us, and I think is scheduling a trip to come down to Bowling Green. So, a really good introduction. Gave us a lot of time, was very interested in what was going on in Kentucky. Next, we got to meet with Eberspacher, which is a company that made an announcement, and then we cut the ribbon on a big facility in Louisville, over at the port, at the World Port over there. This is their testing facility. They do exhaust systems, test motors, a lot of very technical work. This was good to meet with them as we now have them up and running in Louisville and to get direct feedback. We also met with BFW Envirotech of Germany. This company is a global leader in industrial filtration and a fifth-generation family-owned business. The family representative, again, if I'm standing there, is to my right. If you're looking at the picture to the left, walked us around. This is a company that started as a felt maker and now makes these big industrial filtration systems for power plants and others. It was fascinating to see all of their machinery and to talk about their Kentucky operations. We also hosted 3 events sponsored by well-regarded business organizations with almost 100 people in attendance. Not only is it important to say thank you to these German and Swiss companies that employ a number of Kentuckians, but it's important to see them at their home because they create jobs in our home. The feedback was overwhelmingly positive. We actually had one company leader come to the Swiss event that we weren't aware was going to be there, and the things he said about Kentucky and about how we work with our businesses were so positive. I know that we left this trip keeping jobs intact, that a company or two may have thought about moving elsewhere, but I also know we're going to see expansions or new locations coming out of this. Just about every meeting went as well as we could have asked for. A good trip. Thank you to Jeff Knoll from Economic Development, from our two European heads that are located in Hamburg, to Latasha Buckner, my chief of staff, for going with us on this really productive trip. Speaking of great companies doing businesses here, I want to congratulate a vital Kentucky automotive manufacturer on receiving a 2024 Corporate Investment and Community Impact Award from Trade and Industry Development Magazine. Toyota Motor Manufacturing Kentucky received one of 16 corporate investment awards given out this year to honor its continued commitment to Georgetown, Kentucky. This award's a huge honor, and it's exciting to see Toyota continuing to work with Scott County and the Georgetown community to secure a lasting prosperity. I want to congratulate Toyota on its 2024 CC Award, and I am proud to support the company's continued growth here in the Commonwealth. All right, last week, we also highlighted the continued momentum in our state's red-hot manufacturing sector. EPC Columbia, Inc., an industry-leading plastic injection molding company, announced its plans to expand the company's operations in Lebanon with a $3.6 million investment that's going to create 21 new full-time jobs. Having companies choosing to expand and grow their operations is crucial to our continued economic success. EPC Columbia is providing quality job opportunities in Marion County and the surrounding communities, and I congratulate them. I hope we'll convince them to expand again. I also want to congratulate Epic Flight Academy on cutting the ribbon for its new aircraft mechanics school at CVG Airport. Epic broke ground on the over 32,000 square foot building in April 2023 and completed construction last month. The Epic Flight Academy Aircraft Mechanic Program welcomed its first class of students in 2020, and students began training at CVG in the past 2 weeks. Workforce development is one of the most important proactive steps we can take, and this was absolutely crucial to this airport, where we have built enormous new maintenance hangars that's going to help the continued growth of Amazon, that has its largest investment ever in its history, and it's at that airport, which, remember, is on our side of the river, as well as DHL, which has its North American headquarters at that airport. So an incredibly important facility that's training people for really good jobs. Last week, we also approved state incentives for 3 projects totaling $35 million in planned investments in nearly 200 full-time jobs. The first is KOI Superior Walls, KOI Superior Walls, a newly formed company that will manufacture precast concrete foundation walls for residential and commercial construction. They're planning to locate a new facility in Boone County, and they're going to create 73 new full-time jobs. The new employment positions include manufacturing roles, sales, design, administrative, and management. The company is expected to begin full operations in late 2025. This is a new and welcome addition to our manufacturing sector, and their commitment to further growth will further strengthen Kentucky for generations to come. I want to thank KOI's leadership, and I look forward to their success here in the Commonwealth. 2 other projects also received approval through KEDFA. One is Omega Ophthalmic Enterprises, which is looking at a $31.5 million investment that'll create 75 full-time jobs with an hourly wage of $40.39, including benefits. That would go to Jessamine County. The other is Central Screen Printing, Inc., which is proposing a $1 million investment that would create 50 full-time jobs in Muhlenberg County. With these investments in mind, we just continue a streak from the last several years that is our biggest, best economic development win streak ever, with well over 1,000 new location and expansions, a record $30.6 billion of new private sector investment, and over 52,700 jobs. It's going to be pretty exciting this Derby to welcome people to our new Kentucky home, where every opportunity that a child could ever dream of, we're trying to create those jobs right here in Kentucky. One way we're working to keep that momentum going is to continue to invest in site development. Last week, we announced 3 important projects across the state that have been approved for $2.6 million in funding. Those projects are in Fulton, Hickman, and Hopkins counties, which show that we're including everybody, that no one's left out, that every one of our counties, here 2 of our Mississippi River counties, deserve the same types of jobs as everywhere else in the state. Fulton County was approved for $500,000 in state funding for a $4.1 million project. The funds will support replacement of a conveyor system and provide related upgrades to the Hickman-Fulton County Riverport. Remember, it's right along the Mississippi River, so a riverport provides really significant economic development opportunity. Hickman will invest $182,000 in the development of a site at the Enterprise Park Clinton. The project was approved for $91,000 in state support. And Hopkins County was approved for $2 million in state support for a $4 million project. This is a project in Dawson Springs, building a spec building where the tornado destroyed the last spec building that they were trying to get new jobs into. This is going to be an opportunity for that town. Again, not just to rebuild and not just to survive, but to truly thrive. I want to congratulate the 3 communities that received approval, and I look forward to these investments ultimately resulting in great jobs for our people. Along with that, it is Small Business Week here in the Commonwealth, and I want to take time to recognize all the small businesses across our state, which are truly the backbone of our economy. We are home to more than 363,000 small businesses, and they make up more than 99% of companies in Kentucky and employ well over 700,000 of our residents. We simply could not have achieved our incredible record of economic success without our small businesses, without new businesses starting, without businesses expanding, and without our businesses continuing to employ people and ultimately push our families ahead. That's why it's so important that we support these businesses with cornerstone programs like the Kentucky Small Business Tax Credit, the State Trade Expansion Program, and the Kentucky Small Business Credit Initiative. Those are just a few ways that we're helping companies here in Kentucky to thrive. So to all of our small business leaders and families out there, thank you. I know you're working hard to provide for your family and help out other Kentucky families. So Brittany and I always like to support our small businesses, and I think we got a couple photos here. So first, this is Crank and Boom in Lexington. The ice cream is delicious. The next one is Etc. Coffee House in Paducah that I've been going to for years. Rudy's on the Square in Murray is next. McKinley's Cafe in Shelbyville. Yes, that's it. We actually went there with the Deputy Secretary of the Department of Energy, the Federal Department of Energy. They make great sandwiches. Mom's Kitchen and Bakery in Corydon. That's a neat lady. It's also an event space for the area. Making Good Sense in Bardstown. Off the Ground Coffee House in Lawrenceburg. Mulberry and Lime in Lexington. The Whistle Stop in Glendale. And Serendipity Candy Kitchen in Shelbyville. And of course, a few of our favorites in Frankfort, some pictures, and then I'm going to read another list and I'm going to be in trouble because I know I will leave some out, and I love all of our businesses here. Andy's Artisan Bread, because of the great first name. Engine House Coffee, which is pretty new here in Frankfort. That's also how bad I am at selfies. Hoggy's Ice Cream. That's a kid's favorite. And if you zoom out, yeah, that's Winnie with the pup cup. And Kentucky Coffee Tree Cafe. Of course, others that we love include Beast Bakery, Poppy's, Locals Pizza, Bourbon on Main, and so many more. Our small business owners are amazing, and we appreciate them this week and every week. And remember, Kentucky, small businesses are the first to hire, the last to fire. They care about our community. They are our friends and our neighbors, so help them out. Make sure you shop just as much at our small businesses as you do anywhere else. On Monday, we also got to take part in a really special event, breaking ground on a new recycling convenience center and transfer station in Paris. This is a special event because it's replacing a trash transfer center in the West Side neighborhood of Paris, which is a traditionally African-American neighborhood. For decades, trash trucks have driven down the streets, and for a long time, an incinerator would burn anything brought there while kids played just blocks away. This was an injustice, one that needed to be righted, and the whole town of Paris, the whole county, Bourbon County, really came together to make this happen. I mean, this was breaking ground on a new recycling center, and there were hundreds of people there because it was so much bigger than just the facility. The goal here, and the EPA is working with us to make the old facility a park. Think about it, to go from trash being hauled through your neighborhood to having that green space, a lot of dignity. I selected this project to receive over $2 million in funding a year and a half ago. I presented it. The legislature came along with another $1.5 million in the current budget. But the moment that I presented that first check, I knew how important this was because there were 3 veterans that were there that accepted it: Albert West, David Downey, and William Woodford. I handed the check to all 3 and came back Monday, and they were all there ready to break ground. Albert West is 101 years old. He served in World War II and is a veteran of the Battle of the Bulge. He even grabbed a shovel and helped break ground with us. I talked to each of them for a little while. I told him I wanted his genetics, and he said I couldn't have them because he needed them. But he told me about his time serving the country and how he lost his parents when he was 9. And so when he joined the military, it was truly for the 3 hots and a cot, as he said. I told them that with their service, we were working to serve them in return. This was really meaningful to these 3. It's our job to make life better for them. This is true sacrifice. I mean, we have veterans from World War II, Korea, Vietnam, and I mean, 3 incredible individuals that should have never had to have a trash transfer station in their neighborhood. All right, next, we're also recognizing that May is Mental Health Awareness Month. And that's that important concept that in Kentucky, we recognize that it's okay to not be okay. We all endure trauma that our minds are not meant to handle. And thankfully now we have more tools to help people when they need it. One of those that has been incredibly successful is the 988 crisis hotline, which offers that number to call as well as text options and an online chat. This basically means when you are in crisis, you can talk to someone specifically trained that can help you with what you're facing. You are not alone. They're there 24 hours a day, 365 days a year, or 366 this year, since it is a leap year. Since launching the service back in July of 2022, 988 has received more than 67,500 calls, 18,500 text messages, and over 13,000 online chats from Kentuckians. Currently, calls are being answered within an average of 24 seconds. That is 8 seconds less than the national average. What this means is there are a lot of Kentuckians working really hard. Along with the hotline, we passed a number of pieces of legislation. We've done a lot from just the administrative side on different things we can do, and we've been seeing positive results. Last year, Mental Health America ranked Kentucky #1 in the area of adult mental health, and we're seeing positive outcomes when it comes to helping our people with addiction. We just saw a study this year that showed that we were #1 in the country per capita in drug treatment beds by far. You put all that together with so much more, and it's one of the reasons that in 2022, we were one of only 8 states in the entire country to have a significant decrease in overdose deaths. We know that this is all tied together, and in the end, what we can do is provide every resource possible to help our people when they're struggling and to be there for them. To recognize the golden rule says we love our neighbor, And the parable of the Good Samaritan says everyone is our neighbor, even if they're going through active addiction, even if they've said no to help a number of times before. It is our job, based on our faith and values, to do everything we can to help our fellow human being. And that's exactly what the people who are answering the 988 hotline and so many more are doing. So remember, let's continue to be kind to each other. Let's do good things. And let's recognize that mental health is a real challenge out there, not just to some people, to everyone at some point in time. It is okay to not be okay. There are people that love and care about you. There's somebody on the other end of that 988 hotline. Call it if you need it. All right. And finally, Derby Week is in full swing across Kentucky. We're now just 2 days away from the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. This weekend will welcome 150,000 people just on Saturday to Derby, and 18 to 19 million people are normally watching around the world. Truly, the eyes of the world are on Kentucky. So we have had a pretty big ramp up and want to recap some of the events leading up to where we are. So the Derby season festivities started, at least in Frankfurt, on Saturday with our Derby Week kickoff. We had thousands of folks visit the Capitol grounds to enjoy live music, food, crafts, and what I believe was the best kazoo parade in our state's history. Artists and vendors from across Kentucky had their work on display, and people of all ages were able to enjoy the taste, sound, and art that Kentucky has to offer. In Louisville, there have already been a number of great events. That Derby Festival is something special. It has grown over time, and the effort that's put in and the tourism dollars that it brings in are amazing. The annual balloon race and balloon glow is one of the big events of the Derby Festival. And this year, we had the new Kentucky State Park's 100th anniversary hot air balloon in the glow and in the race. It'll also be making special appearances at state parks across Kentucky as we celebrate the 100th birthday of our Kentucky state parks. And then yesterday, I was able to get back to Churchill Downs to see and greet so many incredible people. From the jockeys, trainers, and grooms to the Churchill Downs staff, these folks are working tirelessly behind the scenes to make this an incredible Derby season. You could feel the excitement while I was there, and getting the chance to see some of the racehorses train was very special. We were also able to celebrate some historic figures who helped pave the way for the horse racing industry as we know it. I joined leaders of Churchill Downs and the Ed Brown Society to sign a proclamation naming April 29th to May 3rd as Ansel Williamson Week in the Commonwealth to recognize the contributions of Black horsemen and thoroughbred racing. The stories of Black horsemen and jockeys have often gone untold. They were the true pioneers. Most of the early jockeys who won the Kentucky Derby were African American. Many of the early trainers who won the Kentucky Derby were African American. But over the years, they were pushed out and their stories have not been told. I'm proud of the Ed Brown Society, the work that Churchill's putting in, and what we are doing to right this historic wrong and to make sure that we bring the right type of acclaim to these individuals, that we give them their due because it hasn't been given to them in too long, and that we be honest about our history, both in who made those initial contributions and then what happened for far too long in the industry, but the change that we are now seeing with people committed to doing the right thing. Black horsemen and trainers have been an integral part of the Kentucky Derby since its inception, and their achievements have helped shape the event into a renowned competition that it is today. And Ansel Williamson is a great example of this. So Ansel Williamson was born into slavery in Virginia in 1810. He became a sought-after horse trainer and was instrumental in training African-American jockey and then later trainer Edward Dudley Brown, who the society is named after. Williamson secured his place in history because he was the trainer of the first Kentucky Derby winner. Churchill Downs announced that it is honoring Williamson's legacy with the creation of a new award, the Ansel Williamson Leading Trainer of the Year Award. That's going to go to the trainer that wins the most races in any full meet at Churchill Downs, and they're going to announce it every year at Champions Day leading up to the Derby. That's that Wednesday. This is going to be a special moment where the best trainer from that previous year receives this award, named after that champion trainer that won the first Derby. Churchill Downs also announced 2 other new awards: the Oliver Lewis Leading Jockey of the Year Award and the H.P. McGrath Leading Owner of the Year Award. This, again, is making sure that every year, not just this year, we recognize the contributions that African Americans made, especially in our early derbies. The first Derby, the first place, second place, and third place jockeys were all Black jockeys. And so now with these awards given each year, we'll make sure we're telling our history accurately and telling the story of those that haven't had their stories told in far too long. And then, just when we thought the Derby day couldn't get any better, we had possibly the most exciting announcement of this Derby season, and that's when Winnie picked her Derby horse. Armed with nothing but a GoPro and her canine instinct, Winnie surveyed the field and made her pick. Let's take a moment to show behind-the-scenes footage of Winnie Beshear making her choice. Hey everybody, it's Kentucky Derby 150, and this year, Brittany and I are convinced we're going to pick the winner. We've got the most scientific method that we have ever followed. We're going to let Winnie pick. Winnie, which one? Which one? Oh, we're thinking about it. We need more time to decide.
Over here.
Keep handicapping. Keep handicapping, Winnie.
Oh.
Did we choose Epic Ride? I think we did. Winnie's pick for the Kentucky Derby is Epic Ride.
Yay!
So Winnie is not going with the safe pick. With a horse that was just added to the Kentucky Derby, she must think this is the return of Rich Strike from 2022. And so we're going to see how Winnie's picks do. If Epic Ride somehow comes in first this year, we may charge for Winnie's picks next year. So as I mentioned, we're now just officially 2 days away from the 150th running of the Kentucky Derby. And we know it's so much more than just a 2-minute race. Beyond the big races, the thoroughbreds and the bets, the fancy dresses, the hats, the bourbon, we know it's the kindness of our people that set us apart. So to everyone who is in any part of the hospitality that is the Kentucky Derby, from anybody taking bets at Churchill Downs to anybody trying to keep it clean during the Derby, to those working in our hotels that are welcoming so many people, to the servers in our restaurants, thank you. Thank you for making this one of the most sought after destinations and events in the world and helping us do it year after year. What you do this weekend that we put on helps Kentucky in so many ways. It helps everyone know about us, and it helps us tell our special story now, where people are picking us first for the jobs of the future. You're going to help continue that story. In many ways, we're introducing people to our new Kentucky home this year, one that is a leader in economic development, one that has broken every record for private sector investment, for exports, for tourism, one that is setting record lows for things like unemployment and recidivism. It is a special time to be a Kentuckian. So we're going to name everybody who's helping out in any way to make the Kentucky Derby special and to welcome the world in. You are our team, Kentucky All-Stars, not just today, but through the weekend. And let me just end by saying, I hope that whether you're going to the track or not, you'll have some fun this weekend. You deserve it. I mean, we've been through a lot of difficult times over the past 4 years, and now we're seeing some really good times, but I get that there's a level of pessimism and sometimes even toxicity that seems to hover over us in the country, whether that's social media or others. This is a time to enjoy. Do it responsibly, but have fun with your family. Make a great memory around the Kentucky Derby. Now, put the news aside for a day or so and just enjoy. All right? You deserve it. So with that, we'll open it up for questions because I'm trying to get through this thing in record time. First, we'll start with our journalist in person, Tom Latek.
two. The first one is, given what happened, and I believe this was your first economic development trip overseas.
Yes.
Do you have any more planned here in the near future? That's number one. And second, we know what Winnie's Pick is. What's your pick for the day?
So we had a very successful economic development trip to Germany and Switzerland. It was my first. We would have been on more, but we've had pandemics, tornadoes, floods, more tornadoes, ice storms, polar plunges. We do have another one we are working on, and that is to Japan and South Korea. Japan is one where Kentucky governors routinely and do need to routinely go. They are our largest foreign direct investor, and I look forward to thanking the companies that have invested in us. Of course, Korea is really growing in the investments they've made. SK On being half of the biggest investment that we've ever seen in the Blue Oval SK Park, as well as Infact, for instance, that's expanding in Campbellsville. Winnie has picked Epic Ride for her Derby choice. I'm leaning right now towards Sierra Leone. That's a Coolmore horse. Charlie O'Connor, who runs that farm and is on our horse racing commission, is a good friend. But I'm also really excited about Wayne Lucas having a horse back in the field. I've told this story a couple times, but when I was 38 years old running for Attorney General, he was cinching up a Derby horse right before the race. He's talking to my parents. They've known each other for a long time. And about to run the Derby, he turns to me and says, "Good luck with your race." And I just thought that was a really kind thing to do before a big moment that he didn't have to do. So I'm a big fan of his. Okay, 3 journalists on the line. We'll start with Karen Czar.
Good afternoon. Thank you, Governor. Governor, we often see an uptick in human trafficking during Derby week. It's something that you have taken into focus since before you were governor. Can you talk about concerns, improvements we've seen over the years, and what people need to be aware of? Then on a lighter note, can you guarantee that no treats were added to any of the tennis balls that Winnie selected? Want to make sure it was a fair draw.
It was a fair draw for Winnie. No treats, peanut butter, cookies, or anything were added to the choices. Now, we did use cookies to get her outside, but then it was all on her. And on the serious note, any large sporting event sadly draws human trafficking, from the Super Bowl to a big car race to the Kentucky Derby. Thankfully, we have worked now for years, certainly in my 4 years as Attorney General, continuing as governor, for continued education, especially in our airports and our hospitality sector. I've told the story before about how the first human trafficking survivor that we rescued when I was Attorney General was because a hotel clerk noticed something strange and made a call. In the past, they've put out, here are some signs to look for. Now the experts are saying there isn't any one specific sign, but here's what you need to do. If you see something that is off and you can feel that it's off, and when you're looking at it, you know that something's wrong, make a call. Now, if everything's okay, then no worries. But not making the call might be the difference in someone continuing to be abused on a daily basis and them finding safety. Remember, especially with children, it is not just our moral obligation, but you have a legal obligation to report child abuse, which certainly human trafficking is. And so be on the lookout. We don't want what is our big weekend to show everything great about us to the world marred by people being hurt and taken advantage of and abused in terrible ways. So let's show our Team Kentucky values, our faith, and our values by making sure we're protecting folks out there. And on a somewhat lighter note, just watch out for people that are celebrating a whole lot during Derby. It's not too hard to call a cab or an Uber or a Lyft for someone that needs it. Let's just all watch out for each other this weekend, make sure everybody gets home safely. Sarah Michaels.
Good afternoon, Governor. 2 questions. First of all, Attorney General Russell Coleman is leading a multi-state lawsuit against the Department of Education over updated Title IX rules that would add gender identity to the definition of sex discrimination. What are your thoughts on that? And another thing, the Supreme Court is deciding on Grants Pass v. Johnson, which could have impacts on the Safer Kentucky Act. What are your thoughts on that as well?
Here, ask me that second question again, if you will, Sarah.
Yes, the Supreme Court is deciding in the Oregon case about homelessness, and that could have an impact on Kentucky's Safer Kentucky Act. So what are your thoughts on that?
Well, I appreciate that. I need to read about it. I need to see what that case is and what the arguments are. I'll again say, though, the Safer Kentucky Act had some pieces in it that I was very supportive of that should have been their own bills. Because of that act, families, friends of people that are murdered won't have to watch the weapon that murdered their friend or family member be auctioned off to the highest bidder ever again. And that's a really good change. But as I looked at the Safer Kentucky Act, I heard my minister in my ear and so many others that talked to me. And what they said, and it was right, is, if our Savior returned, where do we think he would be? Who do we think he'd be helping? And should we criminalize the folks that are, homeless right now? I just want to make sure we never treat an abandoned car better than we treat a car with a person living in it. That doesn't mean that there aren't some things we ought to do better, and it doesn't mean I have a solution to homelessness. It is way too complicated for that. But the idea that we would throw homeless individuals that are not being aggressive or breaking the law into jail simply for being there in that place in their life is not the answer. It's not, and it's wrong. And now I forgot the first question. Can you do that one again, Sarah? Sorry. Oh,
yes, it was on Attorney General Coleman's lawsuit against the Department of Education.
Being a former attorney general and a lawyer, I do want to read the lawsuit, but let me just say, we're spending a lot of time with nasty rhetoric towards other children of God, right? Our LGBTQ plus population are our kids and our friends and our neighbors. They deserve dignity and inclusion. And while I don't know exactly what the change in the laws being challenged are, I hope the way that General Coleman or anybody else will go about this is not fear-mongering and isn't attacking our people. These LGBTQ Kentuckians are Kentuckians, just like every other one of us. And they deserve the same dignity and respect. They deserve to be seen for who they are. And I just want individuals who feel attacked by this to know that somebody here in Frankfort cares about you. And we will do our best to make sure that this Commonwealth is accepting for everyone. And you certainly have a place in it, and we care about you. With that, Austin Horn.
Thank you, Governor. I've got a couple environment-related questions. I was wondering how you feel about the $3 million, I believe, allocated to the AG's office to fight EPA rules. And then on that note, last week, you probably saw there was a series of regulations from the EPA intended to tamp down on climate pollution, particularly as it relates to coal and new natural gas powered plants. So I was wondering your kind of position on those regulations.
Well, on the first piece, the dollars going to the AG's office would have gone there one way or another, having served in that position. What that'll do is that'll cover their expert witnesses where they could have applied for a necessary governmental expense without the specific appropriation. And so I don't mean to lessen the fact that the legislature made that appropriation, but it would have turned out the same in the way that their office operates. And the fact that whether it's this or other things, there's never even close to the dollars required for expert witnesses allocated to that office. Now, what matters is how the Attorney General goes about it. There are my belief, and it puts both of these questions together is that we have to balance meeting our current and our future power needs with ultimately getting to a cleaner planet. Certainly right now, we have so many power needs, and we're about to have huge facilities come online. And while they want as much green energy as they can, the number one thing is the lights can't go off. And so we face a math equation right now where we need every existing means of production to meet the needs that are coming online right now. That doesn't mean we can't look at future production, because we're going to need more. And ultimately, broadening our energy portfolio, we need more green energy production in Kentucky. There's no question. And I say that because the private sector is demanding it. Every company I talk to says we want X% of our energy portfolio to be green by this certain upcoming date, need to be renewable or other. And it's actually, there's some interesting nuance on how nuclear does or does not fall into that, given some federal definitions and some rules. So, you know, this can't just be AGs being pro or anti-Biden or pro or anti-EPA. Our policy has to work, and both sides should see that. Our policy has to keep the lights on and support all these great new jobs that are coming in, but also recognize that climate change is real. And as we create new energy means of production, we ought to want as many types as we can. And let me just say this. I talk with other governors regularly, and other Republican governors regularly, and they are seeing huge investments in green energy in their states, and they're not fighting it. Yes, they're trying to keep their current means of production on, but they are welcoming solar and wind and so many others to be and to stay competitive. We've got to make sure that we expand our renewables in Kentucky. But I'll end the way I started. We have to make sure in the next couple of years, especially, that we can meet the needs that are coming here right now. All right. Happy Derby, everyone. Oaks is tomorrow. Derby is the next day. And like I said a little bit before, have fun. Enjoy yourself this weekend. Do it responsibly, but you deserve to have some good memories with your family. My kids are coming with Brittany and I to Derby again this year. I am really excited about it. If you see pictures and Will looks taller than me, it is an optical illusion. That cannot be true. So we look forward to seeing all the Kentuckians out at the track. I'll do my best when presenting that trophy to talk Kentucky up, and I promise not to drop that trophy. Thank you all.